Welcome to the Truman Charities podcast. I'm Jamie Truman, your host. Truman Charities is a 100% volunteer-based organization, and we have raised over $1.7 million since inception. We host 4 fundraisers each year for various different charities, and our annual Halloween party is coming up on October 28th, 6 to 10 p.m. at Tommy Joe's in Bethesda. This year, we are benefiting Main Street. I interviewed the founder of Main Street, Jillian Copeland, last year for our podcast and was blown away with what she has been able to accomplish for individuals living with disabilities and how her son, Nickel, inspired her to create Main Street. Do you know that when individuals with disabilities hit the age of 21, they reach what is called the cliff, and that is when all opportunities that have been available to them while in school cease. Jillian created a 70-unit apartment complex that is designed with accessibility in mind and also offers affordable housing so people of all abilities can live their best lives. But it doesn't end there. Main Street offers a membership program for not just their tenants, but the entire community. We talk about their 22 programs that they offer through their membership. They have cooking classes, art classes, fitness, and so much more. And I cannot forget to mention their Soulfull Cafe as well, where you can grab smoothies and delicious foods. Now, let me mention some of our amazing auction items that we will have at our Halloween event. We have Timber Pizza is offering a wood fire pizza truck to come to your home to serve up to 50 people. So it's a 50-person pizza party, a trip to Hard Rock, Florida for 3 days, 2 nights with dinner credit. We have Boone & Son Jewelry, which, as you know, I love. That's where my engagement, wedding ring, and all of my jewelry comes from. We have a wonderful beach house vacation in Rehoboth, a 3-day, 2-night at the MGM National Harbor with dinner credit, and another 3-day, 2-night at the Hard Rock in Atlantic City with dinner credit as well. For all of your sports fans, we have Commanders and Dolphins suite tickets with open bar and food, and that is just to name a few. We have so many more amazing auction items. Space is limited, so please go onto our website at trumancharities.com to register. If you have any questions, of course, you can always email me at info@trumancharities.com. I really hope you enjoy this episode that I recorded with Jillian Copeland from about a year ago on Main Street as much as I did. Jillian, how are you?
I'm great, Jamie. How are you?
Good. I know you're so busy, so I'm glad you were able to carve out some time to chat with us today. But I wanted to start out for people that don't know you and they don't know a lot about Main Street. Can you tell us your story and why you and your husband decided to create Main Street?
Yes. Thank you, Jamie. First, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I've heard so many of your amazing podcasts with incredible people, so humbled to be a part of the group. So let's see a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Montgomery County and was an educator here at Montgomery County Public Schools for years. My husband and I live in Rockville. We have 4 sons. And our 3rd son, Nickel, tends to be the center of our universe often. At 8 months old, he started having pretty significant seizures, life-threatening seizures. And since then, it's really been a journey to explore and find and sometimes create opportunities for him and other people with disabilities and medical challenges so they can really access community and be a part of community in a very organic, inclusive way. So maybe he was 5 and 6, schooling was a challenge. We created the Diener School. I'm an educator, as I said, by trade, and my husband's on board and amazing. So we created the Diener School in 2007, and actually it's thriving. I think they have 68 kids now. They're located in Rockville, doing really neat stuff. And Diener has a very holistic approach to education where everything is integrated and included. So it's not necessarily one-stop shopping, but OT and speech and language and academics and sensory opportunities and social skill building is all sort of integrated within the curriculum with all of the specialists talking to each other and collaborating together. And I think that's really the beauty. And we're really seeing some successful outcomes. Some kids excelling in all areas of academics, but also knowing who they are and building that self-esteem that they need to move forward. So that's been a really beautiful thing. I'm still on the board there, but not involved day to day. And when Nickel left the Diener School and we were kind of looking for next steps for him, where would he thrive in life? Now he's a teenager and soon he's going to be an adult. What does that look like? And it looked pretty grim. So, Jamie, I don't know how familiar you are with this world or your listeners are, but when people reach adults with disabilities reach the age of 21, they reach what people term as the cliff. And the cliff is, all of your entitlements are ceased. So your schooling, any therapies that you have, and it's really more than that, because for our kids who have difficulties with transitions and difficulties with big changes, and all of a sudden, all of their connections, their anchors, they don't have them anymore. They don't have their friends from school. They don't have their school, and there are not a lot of great opportunities available to them. And one of them is programming and housing. And that's affordable, accessible, and inclusive. And as we were exploring this space, this adult disability space, we realized just how challenging and terrible the options were for adults with disabilities. And we just created a path forward to become advocates, to co-lead this movement with other people that are challenged with disabilities, and to create opportunities and possibilities that people deserve, right? That this woefully underserved community deserves. Also, one of the things we are really working on is changing the culture of what disability looks like to others, and educating people and reminding people by providing organic opportunities to meet and connect with all kinds of people, that everyone really should have a seat at the table, because everyone has a value to bring. People with disabilities and often marginalized or underserved communities, they don't want to be treated as charity or as other. They don't want to feel less than. They want to be a part of the mix. And that's really what we're doing at Main Street. So we spent a couple years, and we now have this just thriving community. Some live in our apartment building at Main Street. We have an apartment building in Rockville Town Center, 70 units. It's a 70-unit apartment building with 75% of the units being affordable, which is incredible. About half of the units are occupied by people who self-identify as having a disability. And so probably about, 150 to 200 people live in the building, and about half probably have a disability. And we offer on our ground floor a membership to Main Street. We have these amazing spaces, as you saw when we did our tour. We have Poppy Boy's Kitchen and a Maddie's Peace Room and a conference room, and places to play and learn and connect and stimulate mind and body, and places, where we create opportunities to belong. And we have residents that join us for our programs, 22 programs a week that we offer through Main Street. But we also have lots of people who do not live at Main Street who join our membership and join us for these classes and activities and programs and opportunities. And they build relationships. They feel good about who they are. Our annual survey just came back. We have a 33% survey rate of members completing the survey. And they're telling us what they want to do and what they want to learn and where they want to be and the timing that works for them. And I think for the first time, maybe ever, for a lot of these people, not only are they being heard, but they have a place to belong and a place to stand tall and feel pride. So it's pretty incredible.
It's very incredible. I was taken back when I came in Main Street.
Thank you.
You keep touching on, when you're speaking about Main Street, inclusive and redefining inclusivity and inclusion. Can you, elaborate a little bit on that? And what do you mean by that?
Sure, I would love to. I think the general sort of overall is inclusion really is providing opportunity for everyone. Is knowing how to make your spaces, your programs, your community accessible. So anybody who wants to participate and be a part can. Affordability, I think, is just a piece of that. Because if things aren't affordable, you're just excluding a part of the population that can't come, right? Mm-hmm. So I see that as inclusivity. As part of this, I see, inclusion means a lot of different things to a lot of people, right? It depends what your lens is and what your context is, your background, your template, where you come from, how you're treated by others. So it can mean a lot of different things. For us, I think inclusion is really bringing opportunity for people so that they can create their own possibilities from that. But if they're not provided opportunity, really hard to feel a part of something bigger than yourself, sometimes hard to find purpose and passion and meaning. And so for us, that's what we're doing. We're saying to folks, hey, we have this open, beautiful, bright space. We treat everyone with respect and dignity. We provide these classes and opportunities for you to join and learn about who you are and how to connect with the bigger world. And come, if it works for you, come join us. It's a non-judgmental space. It's kind. And I guess at the end of the day, that's really true inclusion. And I say to people sometimes, we don't typically use segregation. We don't use the word segregation anymore. I'm sure there are people that might disagree with me or feel that they are still living in more of a segregated world. I am privileged to not feel that. But I hope that one day we don't have to use the word inclusion anymore. I hope that we are just naturally kind and providing spaces where people feel included, and we don't have to keep saying, let's be inclusive, let's be inclusive. We just actually act and model what inclusion and kindness looks like.
I was reading one of the stories from your residence, and it was Katie's story. And she was talking about how she's a resident there and she feels so included there. And she actually has started one of the programs, which is Let's Get Crafty. Yes. So can you talk a little bit about some of the programs that you think the residents really enjoy?
Yes. I'm a little emotional because Katie is just this really spectacular young woman, and she's really struggling right now with health. She's been in the hospital since September 20th, and we're all worried about her, but she's going to do okay, and we're providing her with love and support from our community, and I hope that helps her. So Katie and others, I think when they come to Main Street, they feel this sense of not just belonging, but empowerment. And because they're being heard, they come to the table to say, hey, I'm crafty, I'm artsy, I love to cook. How can I be a part of, how can I lead others? How can I share my talents with others? And that's just this natural empowerment, right? Of, all of community. When we have something to give to others, skills or talents, or even just kindness, really, it lifts people. And that, I believe, is what we're doing at Main Street. We have 2 adults with disabilities who run our fitness classes. One of them is in a wheelchair, and he still runs a kick-ass fitness class, right? We have 3 adults who are now working at Main Street as a front desk concierge. One of them happens to be my son. He works part-time on Thursdays and Fridays, and providing a space where he's a leader, where he is purposeful, where he matters. I think this is actually not just a problem with the disability community. I think before COVID, this was a problem with many people in our community. And I think we all need purpose, right? Mm-hmm. We all need at some level to be needed. Mm-hmm. And I think what's happened with this population, with our population, definitely with disabilities, is as they're growing up, parents like me, we tend to focus on, I'm still doing it, by the way, we tend to focus on our concerns and worries and our kids' deficits. And we celebrate the victories, even if they're little wins, we do that. Many of us do that. But I think because we're always looking at this child with concerns, and it's the focus, like I said, even in the beginning when I introduced myself, our family is very centered around Nickel and his needs. And I think it forces Nickel to always focus on Nickel and his needs and not look outwards and not understand the greater responsibility that he can have to the collective community and how he's needed and he can be a part of that. And so some of what we do at Main Street is employing people with disabilities. We do have this employment track, this an internship. We want people with disabilities to be heard. So we do member feedback, member surveys and evaluations and focus groups. And we ask people to come to the table and share how they feel and how they want to live and how we can support them. And we guide our programs based on member preferences and interests. But I think just bringing people to the table is really what I would say is so helpful. And I talk to a lot of my friends in the business world, and I often say to them, do you have opportunity in your space to bring in somebody with a disability? And it has to be natural. it has to fit their skill set, right? I mean, we don't want to bring people in for charity. We want to bring them in because they can add something to our workforce, right?
Mhm.
And what we find is, and again, I'm not in the employment space, but we do have this lane, and we work with Kennedy Krieger and Seek and Jessa and all these amazing organizations that help people to gain successful employment and to continue to maintain their employment. And what we find is when people bring in adults with disabilities who work in their space, overall, they have a higher productivity level of employees and people are happier.
Hmm.
And I think if you join us for a community event at Main Street, a social event, an educational event, baking with Sharon, our boxing with Dante, a Tai Chi Qigong class, yoga with Helene or Daniel, if you join us for this, you feel this sense of community and perhaps non-judgment. And it just is, it's uplifting. And so there really is so much value in being a part of a community like this and providing opportunities for all people to come sit at the table, right?
I did love when I came in and I met your son. He was working at the front desk and I was so in love with him.
Thank you.
Then you took me to your cafe, the Soulfull Cafe, and you have people that are working with and without disabilities there. And first off, let me tell you, I had a smoothie there and it was fantastic.
Thank you.
So I do want you to talk a little bit about that, because if people are in the area and they want to pop in and grab themselves something quick to eat, this is a fantastic cafe to stop into.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you. I spent a lot of the day in the cafe yesterday, and it was actually pretty vibrant and bustling. So I was excited. Our cafe is really, it's Soulfull Cafe. So we want you to come in and fill your cup and fill your tummy and fill your soul. And I think what you're going to find at Soulfull Cafe is you will see a very diverse population. Our staff is very diverse, neurodiverse, physically diverse, and they're welcoming, and it's kind of like Cheers, right? The TV show. You come in a few times and they're going to say, "Hey, Jamie, do you want that smoothie again today?" It's a very community oriented feel in our coffee shop. And we have amazing smoothies and acai bowls and hot and cold sandwiches and organic, lots of organic and locally sourced opportunities for your food sources, which we think is really important. Mm-hmm. So organic and comfy and cozy. We now have soups. And again, providing people at the seat at the table to work in a space where they are around community and they're purposeful and they're serving others. It's really been an incredible experience. And I highly, highly suggest, recommend anyone who wants to pop in. You can order online at thesoulfulcafe.com. Our location, we are at 50 Monroe Place. So we are right across from the district courthouse, and it's light and bright and super fun in there. So thank you for the soulful accolades, and hopefully other people will come.
I love how you mentioned it's light and bright, because I think that when I walked in to Main Street, that's how I felt. It was just very welcoming and very bright and colorful and just lovely. And I want to talk a little bit about, so when I first walked in and I met your wonderful son, and I looked over and I saw this, just like, was taken back. You were talking to me and I said, "I'm sorry, Jillian, I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying," because I was just staring at this artwork. And so you have something that is called, what is it? Artists on Main Street.
Yes.
Right? Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Of course. And I do remember that. I do remember your eye moving towards the beautiful art. We have a program, Artist on Main Street. It's our Artist in Residence. And every 3 months, our art in our lobby rotates. And we invite people in our community of all races and ages and stages and backgrounds and abilities to be a part of our art wall. So we've had Dwayne Martin, who was written up in the Washington Post. He's a postal worker from Southeast DC. His side hustle is art. He was up on our walls for 3 months, and he did a workshop for our members so that we could learn how he did his art. And some of our member artists followed along and created their own beautiful masterpieces themselves. So when you were visiting Main Street, we had our member art show. So members could submit their art to be, and it was either accepted or not. And our director of membership experience, Stacy, chose all the art that was on our walls. Some were actually just QR codes of poems or videos also, because all art is in all mediums are included. And so I think when you were there, you saw a lot of our members' art, which is bright and beautiful. And yesterday, actually, we rotated again. So our members now have their artwork back, and we are highlighting Madison Prince. He is an adult with autism, and his mom graciously is sharing his art with our community. They also will be doing an art show. I'm not sure what the date is, but it will be on our website. And so Madison's art is colorful. It's actually extraordinary. And his art will be up through the end of January, and then we'll rotate through to another artist too. So if anybody's a local artist and they'd like to show us their work and highlight their work up at Main Street, we would absolutely love that. We are also thinking about doing another art show at Soulfull every 3 months and rotating people's artwork through the Soulfull Cafe as well.
Oh, I think that would be wonderful. That's a great idea. I love that.
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit. I saw on, your website and all of these residents, and they talk about their experience, obviously, at Main Street. And I wanted you to explain or elaborate a little bit more on this. Joanna, she was talking about the apartment layout, and she said that it's designed with accessibility in mind, like especially the kitchen, she said. Can you explain a little bit what she means by that?
Yes. That's so great. I'm glad that she shared that with you. So, the ADA is one thing. Apartments have to be, ADA compliant, but it doesn't, when you talk to people with disabilities, cross disability, whether they're hearing or vision impaired, mobility challenges, someone has autism, they all need different things. They need different kinds of lighting. Sound is important. We have in our apartments, we have movable islands. So if you want to move your island out of the way, if you need a little more space for your body to move, or you're in a wheelchair, you can either take out the island altogether, or you can move it to a different part of the apartment because it's on wheels. So just, little things, right? We have in our ovens, if it doesn't see movement within 2 hours, the oven turns off. So there's a safety mechanism. We also have something called iGuard, which is if there is a fire that starts on your oven, a chemical is released from that and it will put out the fire. So there's some little things. We also have, just ceiling fans in each room. That was something that when I interviewed, almost 80 people, families and adults with disabilities, where do you want to live? How do you want to spend your time? What do you need to accommodate your needs? That was one thing. A lot of ours, I don't know if you noticed, in all of our amenity spaces, our community center, every door is glass and it's a push button. So everything opens so automatically, including our front doors. And, that's important for a lot of people. It's very hard for them, even pushing a handicap button with a door opening, one door opens, it's not enough for them to go through. So another thing that I think was really interesting, I interviewed a young man, he was 37 years old and he's blind, and he's so brilliant and talented. And he met with me, this was prior to the building opening when we were, I don't even know, I think we were in the design mode. And I asked him, what do you need? And he said, Braille is important because I can't see. But when I get on an elevator and there are other people in an elevator and I push 6, because that's where I'm going, when the elevator stops, I don't know what floor we're on. So an audible was necessary. So we now, we have an audible. It says you're on floor 2, you're on floor 3. Just things that that I think able-bodied people, we don't know. Kind of the necessary things for others. We presume to know sometimes, and we think we're ADA compliant, but it really takes much more than that to actually have universal design and accessibility for all. There are still things we're working on. There are still things people bring to us and say, this is difficult. And some things we can't do, but a lot of things we can and we have.
Wow, that's a lot of things that I would never know about. So I'm so glad that you explained what exactly Joanna was talking about, because I read it and I thought, I would love to know a little bit more detail about your actual inside the apartments. That's fantastic. Now, if somebody is listening and they're saying, I would love to be a part of Main Street. Now, either I would like to be a resident there, or I would like to just be part of the community, and I'd like to have a membership there. How would they go about that?
So another great question. Thank you. Well, our apartments are filled And there is a staggering need for affordability across the globe. Actually, I was going to say it's a national housing crisis, but it's really a global housing crisis. And when you add in the narrative or the mix of disability and affordability, that intersection is just really a big, huge challenge. And so when we built the 70-unit apartment building, we opened our call lines in March of 2020 for people to call, and it was first come, first serve. We had 11,000 calls the first day, right? You can see the staggering need. So Main Street is filled, and the wait list is not moving, at least at this point. It is filled. So there aren't opportunities to live at Main Street. However, there are opportunities to live nearby, and there are opportunities to be a part of our community. So most of our members come to Main Street for our 22 weekly programs, right? They come for Qigong, they come for baking, they come for educational series. We had an entrepreneurial educational series, and we have a culture series, a travel series. I mean, we have something for everyone. And what we want the world to know is we want you to join us as a member of Main Street. We want you to come to our space. All of our programs are also hybrid, or not all of them, but many of them. So our rooms are all Zoomed. We have members in 9 different states. So if you don't want to leave your house, you can still Zumba with us. But if you do want to come in and Zumba or do our boot camp or our Muscle on Main or, our sunrise, you can come physically in person also. So we have this sort of hybrid membership. If you're just like, this is the greatest thing, and I love Main Street and I wish the world was more inclusive, I don't really want to be a member, you can be a donor. You can be a volunteer. And many of them joined our membership from there, or at a minimum, they're coming back to volunteer next year because they loved this feeling, right? Because, and this is so much bigger than Main Street, but there's so much toxicity in the world. Suicide has become a default for our younger people. People are disconnected. People are challenged and struggling, and we need light. We need positivity. And when you talked about walking into the building and feeling the light, people in affordable living, they don't have that in most affordable buildings, right? We had 2 designers, Lauren Sachs and Elise Linos, and they were so unbelievably amazing. Both did this work with their teams pro bono. And it's my husband's passion and mission. He's a developer, and he and his brother, it's really important for them, especially in the affordable housing world, to make people feel dignified and safe in their home. That's a huge determinant of health, is safety and how we feel in our homes. And we want people to walk in and feel light and bright and dignified. And this is a population, as I said, that's othered and less than in so many other places and siloed and not a part of the bigger community. Well, that's what Main Street's going to offer them, but it's also offering that to so many other people. My mom's coming tomorrow night with a bunch of her friends. They're in their 70s and 80s. They're coming to do our Spices Right class, because we're mixing spices. We have an expert in there. We're going to learn all about, how to cook with various spices and herbs and blends. And it's amazing, right? We have a gratitude breakfast next week. Anyone who wants to feel happy and big-hearted, come and join our gratitude breakfast. You will walk away feeling the virtues within, the virtues with others. So we have so many opportunities. So if you ask me the question, how can people access Main Street? Living there's a little tough, right? And a challenge, but joining our membership, being a part of our community, I promise you will leave. You will love it and want to keep coming back and leave with a smile. So, and you can find everything on our website, mainstreetconnect.org. Our membership opportunities are there. Our programming opportunities are there. Our calendar of events are there, so you can see what we offer, these 20 to 22 programs a week. And I guarantee you there's something for you, for everyone.
Now, where do you see Main Street in, say, 5-10 years?
Yeah, I love that question. I love the visual of that. I see Main Street Rockville thriving. I see us possibly being in other spaces in Rockville, in DC, and Virginia, maybe offering inclusive programming in other community centers. We're in discussion with some other groups that are hoping to program like Main Street and provide opportunities for everyone to belong. We are starting to consult with folks around the country who are trying to build their version of Main Street, and it's not easy. It's not an easy task. but we are working with others. We're working with a DC group, a Wisconsin group, people in Los Angeles, people around the country. We do have a webinar of how to do this. We also have a video that will be out that can help people. It's, I think, a 2-hour video that kind of takes you from soup to nuts, how to get this thing built. So I see us working with other groups like the Kelsey out of the Bay Area. They have coined the term disability forward. I see us moving disability forward. And it's not really about Main Street. It's about a movement. And that's what I see in the next 5 years, is making some traction in this movement to provide equality, equity, and kindness for all of those that are othered, especially our disability community.
We have a mutual friend, and that's how we met each other. And within a few minutes, I looked over and I was like, Jillian, she is not a talker. She is a doer. Like, you are a force. So when you have something in your mind, it's happening. So I definitely can see this being in different states and you guys really taking this to the next level. And I have to say, for the people listening, we're talking about Main Street, but you really just have to see it. I mean, it is remarkable what you were able to do. And when I walked in, I thought, I said, it's like a Four Seasons. It really is gorgeous. And I'm not, exaggerating on any point. Like, you walk in and it is light and bright. And I walked into the area where you guys have, kitchen and people eat, and you have all of your different cooking classes and all of that. And you walk around and it's just so inviting. And you walk outside and it's like a spa. It's just gorgeous.
We do have a spa day. That's one of our programs.
Oh my gosh. See,
thank you.
Literally everything. And before I let you go, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would want people to know?
Yes, thank you. I was just thinking, what I love the love that you've shared about Main Street. Thank you. And it is so beautiful and inviting. I love working there. I love being there. Mm-hmm. I actually redid my kitchen to look like the Poppy Boys kitchen at Main Street, which is named after my dad, which is funny because he never really stepped foot in a kitchen, right? He didn't even know where the pots and pans are, but yet our kitchen's named after him. But it's a place of love and kindness. And that is why it's named after him. And it has a great big TV. So my dad loved TV, so it works really well. And actually, we're starting crab cakes and football Sundays coming up. So that should be really fun too. So if you're a football fan, come join us. The one thing that I didn't say that I want to stress that I think is really important is how we're unique. Mm-hmm. And we are unique because Main Street isn't a big, large group home. It isn't. We have a mantra, bring your own independence, which one of our members, John Bogaski, coined for us and has been a great asset for us. He's a parent of an adult with disability, and he's been really helpful with us building Main Street. And bring your own independence means whether you live at Main Street or you join us for our programming, you bring your supports with you if you need supports. If you have a direct service provider, a mother, sister, friend that has to help you because you have mobility challenges, or maybe help you regulate if you are, having some emotional dysregulation, you bring that person with you and you bring your independence. And I think how that's different is if you're in this world, most other places provide all of these supports for you. If you move into a house, especially a group home, the staff comes with it. At Main Street, we say to you, you do you. You have your own fob, you do you, and you bring whatever it is that you need. We're not going to supply that for you. And it has allowed people to rise to this level of independence that even many of the parents are shocked about. One parent in particular, two actually, told me that they receive funding from the state and they have a direct service provider that comes in who helps their child, achieve independence and helps with, personal supports or community-based learning or things like that. They don't want their supports anymore. They don't need them. They come down to Main Street. They have enough of our staff. We are a scaffolding of support, not a one-to-one, but they come down and they access our programming. They don't need somebody hovering and lingering. They're doing it all by themselves. And that's a big deal. And I think when we decided to go with this mantra and we really understood what that meant and it became philosophical for us, we didn't realize what that was going to bring for people, but that's what it's bringing. And it's allowing people to stand tall and take pride in their own abilities and probably feel really proud of their own independence. And it's liberating. I mean, we all need to be independent, right? We all want to be independent regardless of our ability or how disabled we are. 100% of people with disabilities, when you interview them and ask them if they want to live independently, 100% will tell you yes. So I think they're feeling it here. And we have studies from the University of Maryland and our own feedback and surveys, and that Main Street is statistically significantly impacting the quality of life for people. And some of that is because they're finally treated like adults, and they're provided a community of support wraparound system that feels really good and allows them to rise. And so their life is improving because of it.
Now, how does that make you feel when you hear back about the statistics on Main Street?
Am I allowed to cuss in the podcast?
Sure.
Okay, I would say fucking awesome. That is how I feel. That's my favorite word, by the way. And I've done pretty good on this podcast, I will say, but I feel fucking awesome. And by the way, this is touching me really personally, right? Because my son is living there and he probably stays at Main Street 5 nights a week. And seeing the level of independence, now it's not perfect. There are bumps. And sometimes even just in the last couple of weeks, we've had some real challenges, but watching him, even my second son, I have 4 sons, as I said, my second son drove him back to Main Street a couple months ago. He wanted to sleep there. And he came home and he got home and he said, Mom, I cried the whole way home. I watched Nickel put on his mask. He has to carry rescue meds with him because he's a seizure disorder, strap his fanny pack on with his rescue meds, grab his backpack with his computer, walk into Main Street, say hi to people, go in the elevator. And he said, I left and I burst into tears. And he said, I'm leaving to go back home. He lives in New York. And it's the first time I've really ever left him where I don't have to worry. And that's how I feel. And we've been able as parents to, or I guess I could speak for myself, I've been able to kind of let go of the control. That's a really hard thing for me, but I think a lot of parents with kids with multiple challenges. So I feel fucking awesome, Jamie.
Oh my gosh, you're getting me all teary-eyed here.
Sorry, me too. But it's really true. It's really true. None of this is, I'm 100%, it's my truth anyway, I guess, and it feels really good.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And you're just, you got me. You got me at the end.
Thank you, Jamie. I so appreciate your time and your energy and, all the amazing things that you and your husband and your board and your community do to enrich the lives of so many that are othered, and now including disability in that narrative. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. And thank you to all the listeners for tuning into another episode. Until next time, everyone.
If you liked this episode, please make sure to rate and review our podcast. That is how more people learn about the Truman Charities podcast and our organization. And to make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes, subscribe. If you'd like to follow Truman Charities, you can follow us on Facebook at Truman Charities, Instagram at Jamie_Truman Charities, and check out our website, trumancharities.com.